Atkins. You ever hear of a carb cycling diet?
Yeah.
So that actually works pretty well for this. With a carb cycling diet, it's kind of like we talked about ketogenic refeed. You're getting a big spike on a high day, which is making you anabolic. You might have a medium day where you're maintaining, and then you might have actually like a low or no day where you're kind of in fat burn. And if you structure that correctly, you can kind of get some muscle growth and get some fat loss at the same time.
Would a high carb day be more beneficial in the weight room, in a low, like a lower carb if you're gonna do like some condition, like sprint work or something?
So again, what is it? It's the amount of work you're doing, right? It's your work. So you want your carbs allocated to the kind of work you're doing around those times. So when should you have a pre-workout meal? Right before he mentioned
45 minutes, hour.
hours. Depends on what you're eating. If you're eating something that takes a little time to digest, you might want to wait a couple hours. Oats is a little slower than, let's say, jasmine rice. Beef is going to be a little slower than, let's say, the white fish.
Does it matter on the type of workout? Like if you're doing conditioning, do you want to eat an hour beforehand?
Conditioning
Or
eating specifically what, like drills, sprints?
say I had to do like a conditioning test for like 10 hundreds per time.
Okay.
When would I want to eat before that to get the right injury? But I didn't want to cramp up during.
Right, so I'm a big fan of intra shakes,
Okay.
workout shakes. That'll keep you going.
Okay.
If you're going to have a meal, I would probably have it about 2 hours, hour and a half to 2 hours before the workout.
Okay.
If you're doing the split sessions, I would eat before each of you.
Okay.
You can, and also, I mean, especially if the weight sessions are in the afternoon, you're going to eat before your conditioning,
Yeah.
and you definitely want to eat before you get back into that weight room. You're going to try to replenish as much as you can with carbs.
Is there such thing as an anabolic window that people talk about out there?
Yeah, but it's not like I got to eat protein in 20 minutes or that's it. It's actually hours. You'll get the carbs and you'll get the protein in the muscle.
So a lot of people are like, 30 minutes after your workout, you gotta get your protein.
It's not like that. When you train, you're sensitizing everything to open up for replenishment storage, and that goes on for hours. So don't get caught up in that. If you don't have your shake, you don't have to rush to 7-Eleven and get some carbs right away. Any other questions in the meantime?
What's your take on muscle milk products?
Muscle milk?
'Cause you gotta understand we're kind of fed it for free, so.
Okay, so not too long ago, if you look it up, came out Consumer Reports about muscle milk. It's actually got some of the worst heavy metal toxicity of any.
Like a bunch of fillers, right?
Like mercury,
Okay.
arsenic.
It's good for you.
Well, like I'm talking like the carbs too, the fillers, because we get it for free I mean, they give it to us post workout.
I mean, I don't know if they're still doing that. I mean, obviously when it came out, it probably was really damaging.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's probably 3-4 years old now.
Yeah.
I think another big bad boy was EAS. EAS and muscle milk were the two worst,
Yeah.
like full of toxic stuff. So.
Because I hate drinking it, but they
Yeah,
give
I
it to
mean,
us
and
for
then
free.
also too, it's got fat and carbs in it
Yeah.
too.
So for at least for meals before workouts, what type of carbs would work best?
I like usually I like jasmine rice and I like yams. Those are like my two favorites.
Directly before you get to the gym, would you suggest having like a piece of fruit?
I would have your meal 90 minutes to 2 hours before you get there, and then when you get to the gym, I would start with an intra shake.
Okay.
Some kind of a.
When's the best time for fruit? After? For that spike?
I wouldn't have fruit. No, don't forget. With fruit, it's fructose. It's a different kind of sugar. Not all fruit gives you a spike. It's actually lower in the glycemic index. I know you mentioned pineapple, but there's only a few that are high. So actually, you don't want fruit to spike your insulin. It's actually not a good thing.
So do you not like eating a lot of fruit in a diet?
No,
Okay.
definitely not. What I usually do is I allow people to have berries, mixed berries, because they're super high in antioxidants, and it's kind of like the price you pay. I feel that the benefit of berries offsets the small amount of carbs and sugar that are in it.
Okay.
So,
If you were to drink muscle milk, how negatively and how soon would it affect you negatively? Or how long would you have to do it, and how much would you have to drink?
I actually wouldn't drink it.
Just
Not at all.
Can I say something in reference to muscle milk? I sent an email to someone in their corporate office a couple of years ago because I was very concerned too. The guy came back, hey, we cleared so on. I gotta go with, is he lying to me? I don't know. But I've used the product since then, I haven't had problems.
Yeah.
But, yeah, during that time frame, it was not good.
Was it minuscule? Like, it was like
It was pretty, I think there was.
was it enough to harm you?
Yeah, it's above the government standards for what they allow, it was allowable, they have limits, so. You know, and, you know, I'm sure a lot of people had it and never had any problems, because your body is really good at detoxifying stuff, but then there's a few oddballs that either had compromised, you know, detoxification systems in their body and had problems.
So basically, the anabolic window doesn't matter enough where you should just skip the muscle milk after the workout, just wait till you get home and eat? All right, cool.
And there's nothing wrong with having, that anabolic window, there's nothing wrong with having more jasmine rice and fish.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's a little slower to digest, it's still gonna get in there. And, you know, and is there something really are you gonna notice a 10-pound muscle gain if you had the shake or if you didn't?
No, all right.
About, I feel about like isolate, since it's so pure, it's supposed to, digest really fast.
Yeah, isolate is, if I had,
Test-
the only kind of whey protein I would have would be isolate.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
the only kind of whey I would have would be
How do
isolate.
you like
Get up.
It's like a blend of like a isolate, egg, and casein.
I like a micellar casein and a whey mix as in any time shake.
Not egg. Isn't egg kind of like a mid-digest?
When it comes to powders, I'd rather have an egg that's a whole egg, not a powder.
Okay.
So if one of my favorite intra-workout proteins is something called Pepto Pro. I don't know if anybody heard of it. It's a hydrolyzed casein. It's similar to like a BCAA. So it's as soon as it doesn't need to be broken down. As soon as you drink it, it gets absorbed right away.
Everyone here who trains here knows I have talked about Pepto Pro numerous times, so don't pretend like you don't know what it is.
Terrible.
It does taste terrible.
What about like isopure?
Yeah, that's okay. That's a good one. Yeah, Isopure is one of the better ones. You know, they also make the lower no
Yeah.
carb version and
Yeah.
stuff, and then all natural version. So yeah, it's a more reputable brand for sure. Okay, so when it comes to when you should eat, back to what we talking about, the only time you should work out, let's not even call it working out, but if you're gonna do slow, let's say you're an overweight guy and you gotta trim up a little bit. Casey says, you know what? You got a couple mornings, walk your dog on an empty stomach, fasted. You're gonna burn a couple calories. It's kind of the equivalent like just sticking a hole in your gas tank and letting it drip off. You're gonna burn something off. It's not gonna be huge. It's not gonna be as much as a strength training session or a HIIT workout or power pushes, but it's something. That's the only time you should be fasted or you perform something, you know, where you haven't eaten. Anytime you're doing a HIIT workout, intervals, conditioning, weights, you should be fed. You should be fed well carbs. Unless you're a weight loss person, you're trying to trim up. Let's just say your scenario, let's just say you're trying to lose, 15 pounds, but you gotta get those sessions in.
Mhm.
You might just wanna do 1 or 2 carb meals, just right before each one, just to make sure the workout is productive enough, but then the rest of the day, you're not having carbs, so you're trying to burn fat.
And then just get like a protein and vegetable in afterwards?
Exactly,
Okay.
and fat.
Okay, fat.
What about for younger athletes? How important are supplements, protein, powders, things like that?
Yeah, you got, I know, I was there too at one point, I was all about the supplements. My supplement bill was like bigger than like my car payment, but it comes down to food. Just spend that money on the food, good food, and that'll do way more, that's like big things, that's like huge, than some creatine that's gonna try to make up for what you're not getting, or protein powder because you're not, eating enough protein, so.
So when did you want to get the protein powders? Like for someone like the older athletes, maybe just because get that little extra in. Maybe like if you missed a meal, get something a little bit more in you, to help fill that void. Or
Yeah, it's. I think it's part of it is a convenience thing. If you can't have 6 meals a day or 5 meals a day, prepare with protein in it, and a shake or powder might be quicker and better. That's fine. I also tend to use it sometimes as a source. So a lot of times I might have a client that is, say, vegetarian or they only meat, and I can't just give them, Greek yogurt all the time. So I might say, have a couple of kinds of protein. Have some whey protein, have this and that. So it's a creative way to get something else in, but it's definitely, somebody, I started working out, I started taking this protein shake. It's not going to really make a difference, assuming you're just getting enough protein through eating in your natural diet.
what if you have an athlete, who's considered a hard gainer? He has a hard time putting on weight, and but he needs to put on weight. What do you do?
You gotta be creative with the food you're feeding them, so a lot of times a guy like that doesn't really have a big appetite, so a lot of times shakes are good, shakes with some mac oil in it, maybe shakes with some almond butter.
I have peanut butter.
I don't like peanut butter, almond butter.
Wonder if it's like natural organic peanut butter, like it doesn't have the high.
There's
fructose.
like a mold in peanut butter.
Okay.
Is it damaging? It's an estrogenic mold, I don't know.
Okay.
Because
I eat both, I just was curious. I eat both, I was just curious to see.
I like almond butter better. I
Okay.
think it's a better profile of your mono. So fat loss, quick and dirty stuff. Veggies, protein, healthy fat, boom. You should be losing 1 pound to 2 pounds a week. That's kind of like a good standard. Managing your insulin. Also, too, guys that are a little overweight, you lose 10 pounds. That means that's a faster 40. That's maybe an extra inch on your vert. You know, that's the guy next to you that's ripped, not having to wear that extra 5-10 pounds of fat that you do. So a leaner athlete, typically, unless you're a football player, you're like in a strength sport. It's gonna pay dividends. Weight gain. Probably should gain about 1/2 pound to 1 pound a week. So how do you really measure that? I tell people, so every Friday morning, get on the scale. If you're not a pound heavier the week before, you eat enough. Now you're gonna have day-to-day fluctuations all the time, and there'll be some things that don't match up. But generally, you want to trend upward. If that scale's not moving, you're really not eating enough.
What about hydration?
Hydration, I mean, that's important too. That's going to affect your carb intake. It's going to affect your body weight. I give the analogy of a sponge, right? So a dried sponge on your counter is kind of like a muscle depleted of glycogen. It's flat, it's dry, it's light. You just give that some water and it swells back up. It's the same thing as eating carbs and drinking water.
Good question. We were talking about like animals earlier and stuff. What do you suggest for pre-workout stuff? Just, you know, if you can't get meals in, you're on an 8-hour shift. What do you suggest? You're gonna go train right after 8-hour shift. Can't get a meal in, you know, what do you suggest?
I kind of tell people if you're going to have a pre-workout, use it for when you need it. If you're working those shifts every day, I wouldn't go that route. If it's, I was out late last night, I got a big strongman workout Saturday, you know, okay, once in a blue moon, take the pre-workout. But if you're using it to any extent, daily or...
Like a pre-workout supplement, or just talking about the Red Bull?
I'm talking about a pre-workout supplement,
Okay.
like a stimulant. Anything stimulant-based,
Those things are horrible.
they're horrible.
Yeah.
So I would use
Red Bull or
those.
something, would you suggest, like, if you had to, do you suggest a pre-workout supplement, a Red Bull, or?
Black coffee.
So straight up black coffee? Okay.
That'd be like the simplest and I think the least damaging ultimately.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, it might not do anything for you, especially if you're a pre-workout junkie, you know, like a pre-workout shake junkie.
Yeah. So,
Does everyone know what we mean about pre-workout shakes? It's kind of like a catch-all term. They're usually heavy in stimulants. So they make you crazy, your heart rates.
you just crash.
You crash, exactly.
So it's bad because of the